The Granny with the Fire and the Cock. An old granny lived in a small village where everybody knew everybody else. She had a cock that crowed early every morning before sunrise. The crowing of the cock could be heard in every corner of the village, and the villagers woke up on hearing its sound. Being very old, the granny did not sleep long. She woke up every day long before the cock crowed and lit her oven. By the time the villagers finished their morning ablutions and were ready to light their fires, the granny's fire would be blazing away. All of them knew this, so they came to her and she gladly let them light their fires from hers. Often they would praise her and say, Granny, what would we do without your fire and the cock's crow? Hearing such praise from the villagers repeatedly, the seeds of pride began to grow within the old lady. She came to believe that the villagers could not live without her. Really speaking, they should honor and respect me for all that I do for them, but they take me for granted. The more she thought about it, the more she was convinced of her importance to the villagers. And the old granny began to feel that she should be treated like a VIP. She thought, one day I will make them realize the importance of the fire and the cock. So one fine morning, she packed her things and left the village along with her cock and her fire. She reached a nearby forest and began living on its farthest side. Wait and see. Now they will miss me and come searching for me, she thought. And so she lived, dreaming of the day when all the villagers would come to find her and tearfully plead with her to return to the village. She imagined how she would pretend not to be interested in returning. Then she would reluctantly consent to return to the village for their sake. But a week passed, then two, then a month, 6 months, but there was no sign of anyone. Not a soul came to search for her, let alone beg her to return. What had happened in the village after she left? She was very anxious to know, but there was no one whom she could ask. At last, one day, she saw a man from the village walking on the road bordering the forest. Unable to contain herself, she ran after him, waving her hand and calling out to him loudly. He heard her calling and stopped. The old granny asked, Are you not from the village near the river? Yes, the man replied. Do you know anyone in our village? The granny's heart sank when she saw that he had not even recognized her. In a low voice, she inquired, Are the villagers getting up in the morning? Are they cooking their food? The man stared hard at her. What a strange question. Was she mad? Could there be a village where people did not get up in the morning? Could there be a house where there was no cooking? He nodded his head and said, Of course, all of us get up in the morning and all of us cook our food. Not wanting to waste his time talking to the silly old woman, he went on his way. Poor Granny, how disappointed she was. Nobody had missed her. The villagers had carried on with their lives without her cock and even her fire. Nobody would even send for her. Sadly, she packed her things and returned to the village, but her pride had made her stay away too long. Now no one came to her for fire or waited for her cock to crow.